All right, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Misguided Podcast, where we intend to guide you to a better future. I'm your host, Michael Johnson.
And my name is Juwan Rohan, and today we have a special guest, Suni. She's a real estate investor. I'll let her say hi.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So like I said, real estate investor. We're going to talk about her journey throughout real estate and throughout the pandemic, really, because this year has been crazy. So we definitely want to know, the ups and downs you faced going through 2020. So let's just start from the beginning. Where are you from?
So I live in Indianapolis these days, but I'm originally from the East Coast. Born in Jersey, grew up in Florida, and then spent the last decade or so in Boston. I moved up there for my undergrad and stayed up there to work. And then I moved out here about a year and a half ago to further grow my real estate portfolio. I started investing when I was still living in Boston. The prices in Boston were just really, really high. It was hard for me to get the and hit the goals that I was for, So I started as a long distance investor, buying properties out in Indianapolis from Boston, getting them rehabbed, getting them tenanted and all of that stuff, getting them operational. And then I wanted the opportunity to be able to have like a little bit more of a competitive advantage. So I moved out to Indianapolis so I could kind of like build those relationships more quickly, like source better vendors and sometimes do the work when it needs to be done, and something that like, if it's something non-technical that I can do to also save money, So I moved out here about a year ago and things have been trekking along.
Yeah. That's very cool. It's interesting you said that, because I mean, we kind of me and Juwan, as you know, upcoming real estate investors, we're kind of having the same issues. We live in California, so it's really hard to get in over here, So it's funny that you mentioned that you started as a long distance investor, because that's kind of we kind of have that same mindset. Like, we're trying to get in California, but it is more difficult with the prices here.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely initially wanted to get in Boston, obviously.
Yeah.
I didn't want to buy like my largest expenditure, like to date, be in something that was half a country away, it was like literally 1,000 miles away, but sometimes you have to kind of look at your end state, like how you want to end up at your goals and the goal and how to hit your goals. And unfortunately, it's not always the most ideal scenario where you can invest in your backyard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very true. Very true. How was the move from Boston to Indy?
It was interesting. It's definitely, it's a different culture. It really is, and I moved around a lot. I've lived overseas a few times. And so I thought like it shouldn't be too bad, but initially it was rough. I just missed home a lot, but there are like-minded people everywhere, so it's just up to you to like go out there, find those people and cultivate those relationships with them so that you can essentially bloom where you're planted.
True. Did you know anyone before moving out there?
I knew like two people. And I wasn't like super close to either of them, but like there were enough commonalities where I felt like I could maybe be friends with them, and then we'll see where it goes from there.
That's super cool. So you said you mentioned a few different places. Miami was one of them. Did you go to college anywhere?
Well, it was actually, I went to college in Boston. I went to undergrad in Boston. I did my graduate degree out of Villanova University, but I did that when I was still living in Boston. And when I grew up in Florida, it was actually north of Miami. So like central Gulf Coast, like Bradenton, Sarasota. It's much less cool than Miami. But,
it's not South Beach.
No, it would have been much more fun. I might have had a hard time leaving. I had that much fun where I lived.
Definitely. What'd you study in college? You don't mind us asking?
No, I don't. So undergrad was business and finance, and then my master's is in business.
Oh wow! Oh, that's perfect for real estate. Mikey, didn't you study business too?
Yeah. I mean, I majored in marketing. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Where at?
Yeah, I went to San Jose State.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I think I have friends who went there.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Are you still working in the corporate world while you're investing? For sure.
The struggle is real trying to manage both.
Yeah, was it?
I work in corporate finance for a biopharma company that's actually based on the East Coast. So it was the same company I worked for when I was in Boston before I moved here. I just have continued to work for them remotely.
Okay, that's
Oh,
pretty
that's
cool. Yeah,
super cool.
that's what I was gonna ask you. Yeah, that's
That-
super cool.
Yeah.
That's a blessing. You didn't have to like job change or worry about you know getting losing that money and changing jobs. So that's really cool.
Yeah, definitely. When there's so many moving pieces and you're trying to like launch a growing business and like doing everything on your own, like at least it's nice to have like one stable component in your life.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, absolutely. That makes a ton of sense.
Trust me, I 100% agree. Yeah, so I want to talk about how you got into real estate. I mean, obviously you studied marketing and business. That kind of goes hand in hand. Did you always know you wanted to get into real estate?
No. Well, I actually studied finance and business, and I wanted to. Yeah, that was Michael that studied.
Yeah, Michael. Same. They're like on my, you know,
It's okay,
hand in hand.
Yeah. So, no, I actually just wanted like that stable paycheck. I was happy to work in finance for a minute. I liked the career progression, or what I thought would be the career progression, and was like wholeheartedly into like being that corporate citizen and climbing that corporate ladder.
Yeah.
But there were definitely a few things that happened that kind of like affected how I mentally viewed my career. And I realized that things aren't necessarily a meritocracy.
Right.
And that left me like pretty disillusioned, So while I'm still in the corporate world, still like working hard and trying to climb a little bit, my interests are also in growing my business,
Yeah,
trying to figure out how to phrase that correctly, so I'm kind of working on it simultaneously, and just trying to balance and trying to see where I can get the most returns, because it's not always going to be in the corporate world. You have to put in like nights and weekends and stuff in order to grow that. So
yeah, absolutely.
Very true. It's not just the 9 to 5 that will help you like succeed.
No, it's
That's
like
more...
the 7 to 12.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's true. Do you mind talking about kind of the stuff you learned in corporate world, like the kind of struggles and problems you've witnessed firsthand?
Yeah, like how about being paid appropriately?
There we go. I was waiting. Yeah. No,
like,
that's true. It's a struggle.
It is, and it's a struggle to kind of sometimes be recognized for all the work you put in. Like there seems to be a little bit of a disconnect with how much you do and how much the returns you get for that effort. It's not quite like in a successful entrepreneurial venture where you can actually kind of correlate, like, hey, I put in this much effort, I make these decisions, like these returns will come, and this is what's going to happen. And it's very, both sides are at the mercy of others, but I felt like I still do is at the mercy of more people and is influenced by others far more, which has been a little bit more challenging for me. And I think also I'm like a very type A person. I like to have more influence and control over things. And just like being in corporate America, like it's not just about the work you do. In order to be able to achieve that success, you also have to play like all the political games, all the personal games, and it's a little bit hard to not be able to call the shots as much, like you have to learn how to influence even more so. But that helps when you go into your own business, because like I've learned how to be like a button up and how to present messages to different like hierarchies and different audiences. And like there's so many things that you learn in the corporate world that are so valuable when you start your own business, especially as like a new business or an entrepreneur, because you'll be taken more seriously if you learn how to present yourself in a polished manner and learn how the business processes work, which I wouldn't have learned if not for the time that I spent.
Very true.
And still spending.
That's very true. Have you always been like a networking person, sociable, or were you kind of reserved?
I don't really like, I think I tended to have skills, but like I am very much an introvert at heart, and like when I was younger I had serious self-esteem issues, so I was like much quieter. So I think like growing out of that and learning, like but I think the thing that saved me is that like I'm very goal oriented, so like networking, and there is an end goal, right? You know, like you're trying to build something that will help you, right?
And kind of forces you to kind of get out of that,
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Because if you don't get over that obstacle, like your business isn't going to grow.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's true. You know? That's true.
And like, that's actually turned around and helped me in my corporate life, because like, kind of like that, some of those self-esteem issues and stuff, like when you are your own CEO, you have to call the shots, you step up, like you have to have your voice heard, you have to advocate for your business. And that has transitioned into my corporate life, because like I interface with a lot of C-level execs and like just execs in general, you know, and having run my own business and being the C-level of my own business has allowed me to better understand how they think and how to present stuff in a more confident manner, because I've gotten used to advocating for myself in other places. So
yeah,
the relationship's interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
Very true. That's good you mentioned that, because I actually wanted to ask about how when you came to Indy, how'd you find your network? You know, how'd you find your contractors, your lenders? Did you already know them? Like, how was that process? Kind of explain that.
I started that before I ever got here. So like,
Okay.
I'd already bought 5 doors when I was in Boston. So I had started to build that network without ever meeting anyone in person.
Right.
And that was just through networking. They're like online platforms like Bigger Pockets. There are other investors, like essentially just making friends with other people and seeing what they use, like giving them value, you know, because like there's so many investors that just want to like take from other people. And it's like, that doesn't really work long term. You have to be able to, the only way you can grow your business is truly by giving value to others, you know? So like trying to help as many people as I could. And then eventually, like if I needed something, that would come up, and sometimes I don't, and that's fine too, you know? So it's just really like about like getting out there, meeting people, giving value, and talking to as many people as you can.
That sounded like such a Bigger Pockets answer. You listen a lot.
Yeah, I'm pretty heavily influenced. Yeah. Sorry.
That's good. I am too, and he knows Bigger Pockets, so I get it. I get it. That's super cool. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like been my worry, is finding that, like, you know, your top 4, your lender, your agent, just kind of building your network long distance, because it's like it's super hard, you know. That's why like I've been so advocate on trying to invest in California, even though it's so expensive, because like I already have that network set up, so it would be easy to kind of just get the ball rolling, I say. But
Sonny, what would be some of your advice to, like, you know, build, you know, you said you started building out of state when you were already in Boston, and that's kind of something that, you know, that we're kind of along the lines of doing. What kind of advice would you give for people trying to do that?
Just meet as many people as you can, talk to as many people as you can. Like a lot of people have like biases, so like be aware of that, but then also try to find the ones who I think genuinely like to help people, you know,
right.
Are intrinsically motivated to help, as opposed to there being some sort of external motivation, be it monetary or whatever, because that's when like more of the biases come into play. And like find those people, build those relationships, try to figure out how you can like add value and come across as like prepared and like ready and truly be taken seriously, ready to be taken seriously. You know, I talk to a lot of investors, and it's clear they haven't work, you know, and they haven't done like the internal preparation, like, and they'll ask open-ended questions like, how should I invest? Like, which strategy should I use? I feel scared, you know, and like, that's totally understandable, but then you're opening yourself up to someone else's biases, and it's much easier to be taken for a ride then, you know? So like, you really have to do the internal work and be like, hey, this is what I'm looking for. It's A, B, and C because of X, Y, and Z. And here drive it. And like, then people know like, okay, they're on it. Like then we can help them, and they understand the business, maybe like have something in the future, whether it's just like peers who support each other or what have you.
Yeah, that's facts. What made you start investing in Indy?
I did a ton of economic research. So I looked at, so like being in finance, I looked at like a lot of the numbers, you know, I looked at a bunch of economic statistics like population growth, job growth, and that sort of thing, and compare them to the US national average. And Indy not only was performing better, but was also scheduled to continue performing better than the national average, which is really important because like in real estate, it's a long game. It's not just about like how things are going to happen in the next 6 to 12 months. It's like the next several years, you know, and like with the investment in the job growth, et cetera, like it really seemed like a solid place to be.
Yeah. I heard someone on Bigger Pockets actually start saying like, hey, you should really look out for like Indiana. So this whole year I've been like searching Indy and kind of running the numbers. And it's like, that's where I want my first investment to be in Indy because it's such a growing economy. And like I've done like a little research, but even through the pandemic, it's still like going to continue to grow. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's been
it's a very diverse economy. So there are industries that will continue to do well. You know, you'll have some that won't, like some of the manufacturing stuff, but that's kind of the way it goes. But there's definitely still like tech and stuff which can keep going, and it really depends on, like, tech might hurt, but like it really there are a lot of factors that will impact that, and some of it's too soon to be seen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Cool. So how'd you acquire your first property? Walk us through that deal.
So that was just like super basic. You know, I found it on the MLS. I used conventional financing. Like, I think people look to like hit like that next step of like sophistication because they hear like you can't find deals on the MLS. You need a BRRRR, you need to buy in cash and then refi to like make the most of it. And they're not wrong. But it is possible to be successful using the more basic methods if you're hungry enough. So like as a new investor, like I couldn't find anyone to wholesale to me or bring me off market deals. Like why on earth would any person bring me an off market deal? I've never bought anything in my life. I might not even buy this one. You know, like you need to understand, like as a new investor, like how the business is like run, you know, in order to be successful. So like I knew I wasn't going to get that, but like, get those good deals. So I looked on the MLS. I sourced the property myself. I had an agent. He didn't even send it to me. Like I found it, and I'll go after this one, you know, right? And so like he went, did a walkthrough, sent me a video. I put an offer on it same day. I put in at because it was a good deal. The numbers worked for me, you know. A lot of people are like, how do I get it off market or not off market? How do I get it like under market? Like, how do I get the best deal? Blah, blah, blah. But to do that, a lot of times you're just souring all the relationships because you're trying to get it like $3,000 less, and you're like pushing your agent to renegotiate and this, that, and the other. Like you don't want to try to eke out that extra dime every time, you know, like make sure the fundamentals of the investment work and move forward from there. So that was basically what I did. Put in an asking, like it came back, it needed the X amount of work, like calculated out like the rehab. Even with the rehab, it was still a good deal and it still worked for my numbers. So like I didn't bother going back to renegotiate or anything, and I just like executed it on that.
Oh, that's good. Like how nervous were you throughout the whole process?
I was scared. I mean, I wasn't buying it in cash or anything. Like I only had to put down that 20%, but that was still the largest expenditure I'd made up until that time. You know? So like, I'm just sitting there, like it was like 6 or 7 o'clock in Boston, and everyone had left the office, and I'm just sitting there looking at like the picture of the house on the screen going, what am I doing? Like I've been studying this for like 2.5 years, and I think I'm doing it right, but I hadn't been to Indiana yet. I had no idea. And so like, I was like, I think this is going to work. Like, let's just pull the trigger.
Right. So you're actually doing it. Like, it's not the same. Like you do all this research, all this reading, listening to podcasts, but so you actually buy that. I mean, I haven't bought my first investment property, so I'm still like, not that steady.
When like the theoretical knowledge bumps up against the fact that you have no practical knowledge, and like, I know nothing.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Sorry, my cord got. I didn't want the plug to go out. What tips helped you buy your first property and kind of get over that hump? You know, that what do they call it? Paralysis analysis.
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 Yeah. What kind of helped you get over that?
Well, at the end of the day, like people get scared scared because they're not scared enough of their current situation continuing.
Oh.
What's the worst fear?
Oh, that's true.
Like, what's the worst possible outcome? Okay, I screw this up. I lose $30,000. I'll make that back,
Yeah.
But is it worse that I sit here and do nothing and essentially sign up for my life continuing exactly how it is for the next 50 years?
Yeah.
Or do I actually do something? And if you do something, at least, and it doesn't work, at least you don't have the regret. Like,
Right.
people never regret the things that people have more regret for the things that they didn't do than the things that they tried.
Yeah, very
Right,
true.
right.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
I mean,
I see what you're trying to say.
A broad generalization.
Yeah.
You changed it from never to some people.
Yeah.
I get it. I got you.
I was like, let's back this up.
No, that's very true.
Yeah, and then education is also a way to overcome that fear. So like, I spent like 2 years studying, and so like, I knew how like the crime statistics worked. I knew like what would create for like a good environment to invest in. Like, I knew all these things, and had that corroborated by who were in the business and who knew what was going on. So like,
but even education by research, you get to, kind of a plateau. It's like the next step is the only way to learn is by experience. So you 100%. Threw yourself out there, and now you're learning. And now you're at 9 doors, I believe. So like, you're learning, each door is different, and you can't read that in a textbook. And we talk about it all the time. That's why this podcast is meant to kind of like teach things that we don't learn in school, that we don't learn by, just reading something in a history book. And you kind of got to throw yourself out there and go do it. So I'm glad you mentioned that for real. I was going to ask, one of the questions was, are you putting any money down? I think I was on your Instagram. I stalked it a little bit just because I had to prepare, but I think you did another podcast where they said that you had no money down or something with no knowledge, and you bought your property.
No, I just had no money.
No. Just no money.
I am not like, I'm a big advocate for having skin in the game and putting your own money on the line, especially at the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, my last straight investment was with an investor, but still put up money for the rehab. I still put up 25%. So my skin was still in the game,
Gotcha.
Okay.
So like, I do that, and I find other ways to lessen the amount of money I put into a house to get into the investment. Like I also have, and I'm looking into, I bought like one on land contract, seller financing and stuff, into other ways to be able to get doors at a cheaper cost. But there's always money in the game.
For sure.
Yeah. How do you feel about that? Like leverage, like using the bank's money versus your own money, and does it depend on the deal necessarily, or where do you stand with that?
The numbers have to work.
The numbers have
got to work. It has to be able to support itself. So yes, I'm all about using other people's money as much as possible. And if the deal doesn't support that, then I probably won't do it, because otherwise my growth is severely stunted if I'm going to do like the conventional 20% down every time.
Yep. Yeah. Very true. Very true. I'm trying to find the picture of what I was talking about. I can't find it now. There was a podcast I think you did, but can't find it. Oh well.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, one question I have for you was, do you plan on getting back into the, or not back in, but do you plan on trying to buy in Boston eventually? No. Not at all. Never.
Never.
No, because like I can spend like $1 million and get like a duplex, or I can spend $1 million and get like a 25 unit. Like
Gotcha.
which is more diversified, like in the cash flow on like 2 units versus 24.
Yeah.
For me, it's a no-brainer.
Gotcha.
Very true. What's the number of properties you want to have by the end of 2021?
2021. That's in the air. So like, it's going to depend on the economy. It's going to depend on a whole lot of things. Like, I have to see how things play out and how I want to adjust my investment strategy. Right now, things are so in flux that like, I can't make that goal a year in advance.
Yeah, let's talk about that. How has COVID and everything else besides COVID affected you in your business, your real estate business?
Definitely not as it's not impacting me as heavily as it has many people. I am now starting to see some ramifications. Like I have one tenant who can't pay, and
Okay.
all of that stuff. But overall, like not too much. It's impacting how I view my long-term plans, because like going into 2020, I was like, I want 3 or 4 doors by the end of the year, this, that, and the other. And now I'm at 3 doors and I'm like, let's hold it right here, unless I find a deal that is like that much of a home run. If it is a home run deal, I'll take care of it. So I'll find a way. But otherwise, I'm kind of looking to optimize my current holdings and move forward with that. So, and like that includes like the house hack and the rehab for this place and everything else. So I'm just kind of sitting tight and seeing where my cash levels are, where the economy is going, and that sort of thing.
Gotcha. And have you been affected at all, like with your corporate job? Has COVID like?
Not yet, thankfully. Yeah.
Thankfully, yeah.
That's good, because you already work remotely, so.
Correct.
It's not like you had to go in there.
That is correct, but still, like a lot of companies are hurting. So.
Yeah.
Very true. Very true.
Definitely.
I want to talk about Griffin's Property Group. How did you're the founder of that. How did you come about that?
Well, I mean, that's just like a fancy way of like protecting my assets.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, but
it's a way to market, as well. Like it's just a company that holds
all your properties.
All my properties. Yeah.
Let's talk about that though. Like starting an LLC to use to invest in properties. How does one go about that? If one's listening right now, what are kind of the steps? Because we always talk about it's super important to start an LLC. You can write stuff off for taxes and kind of just learn. So if you mind talking about that.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, definitely. It's important to be able to write stuff off on your taxes, but it's more important for like asset protection, right? So like people can't come after you personally if something happens at a property, so there are different, like, I'm not a lawyer, seek actual, but like that is kind of like the other thing is just in terms of like starting an LLC, it's really not that hard, especially if it's in your home state. I think it's different out in California, but in Indiana, I just had to go onto the state website, fill out a few forms, and it was done.
Okay.
So it wasn't hard.
Yeah. It's not too hard here either to form LLC.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Pretty short process.
Yeah. And all done online and stuff, and it's like pretty quick. So so how does can you put a down payment, or can you buy a house under the LLC's name, or is it always under your name and then you got to transfer it? I've heard many different.
You can do whatever suits your goal best, and what the best scenario is with like your lender and or your insurance situation. Sometimes insurance goes up when it's held commercially. And then there's also like Fannie Freddie limits. Like you can only get so many loans in like your personal name.
True.
So
true.
It really depends on where you are. But like commercial loans, if you're going to get one under your LLC, it's probably going to be more like a commercial loan. And then the amortization period is different. The interest rates are different. Like so a lot of people end up getting like maxing out the Fannie Freddie loans because those have the most favorable terms. And then you can always quit claim it into your LLC.
Very true. Very true. Interesting to know. I want to ask about how 2020 has affected you kind of emotionally with everything, all the craziness that's happened. I mean, I'm going to
take a bottle of bourbon.
I mean, there's so much happening. And then like, even in California, like everything happening. And then we had the lightning fires. So like, I'm like super close to like evacuation. So like that was more added stress. And it's just like now we have like 110 weather and it's only 9 o'clock in the morning. So it's crazy. Everything is just like crazy. And I want to know how it's affected you emotionally. not just for
especially
business.
being an entrepreneur and, you know,
Yeah.
working full time, like how does that affect your
Dude,
motivation?
It's been hard.
You know?
Like, especially at the beginning, because like there's a lot of stuff going on that we have to process like collectively,
Yeah.
you know, and then when you're spending time like processing that, you don't have the energy left or as much energy left to devote to your activities, you know, or your goals, you know. So like I really found that at the beginning of the pandemic, even though I worked from home, like I couldn't go to the gym, I couldn't do all these things that give me structure and like keep me going, you know.
Right.
And then I ended up like getting tired a lot and like just feeling like just so out of sorts that it was really hard also for me to be like creative, you know, like I wasn't like doing stuff for like my business Insta. Like I was supposed to be like doing some other like marketing branding work, and I just like I did not have the brain space to get to it because I was busy dealing with like the trauma, I guess, of the pandemic, you know, like so yeah, definitely it was definitely really, really draining, I found.
Yeah, that's a good word. I definitely feel like, you know, it's so hard to focus on, you know, business sometimes when, you know, you got everything else going on. Like you got civil unrest, you got, you know, you're worried about, you're worried.
And it's just scary. Like it just adds this like element of fear that's like kind of like more at a basic level of human needs. Like you don't feel like your environment is stable. If you don't feel like your environment is stable, how can you reach like this like self-actualization piece you're trying to work on like an entrepreneurial journey, you know? Like,
you seem stressed right now. I'm like,
just remembering all that stuff, man.
I know, I totally get it. Well, we're gonna wrap up soon. Mike, did you have any things before we move to our guided conclusion section?
No, I had a question for our guided conclusion sections, but yeah.
All right. So at the end of each show, we do a guided conclusion section where we just ask a question to the audience or to ourselves if we have no one interviewing and they don't know the question beforehand. But sometimes it can be super funny. Sometimes it can be super corny or super serious. So you never know. I'm just throwing it out there. Go ahead, Mike. What's your question?
So my question is, do you believe that there's a bad real estate deal, or do you feel like any real estate deal could kind of be salvaged and made good?
Oh no, there are bad deals.
You think there's bad?
100%, there are bad deals. I mean, that doesn't mean you can't recover from it with another deal, or you can't like cut your losses and like. But there are 100% bad deals, especially if you don't do your homework. Like there were Indianapolis who were buying with like turnkey providers and stuff, and they were literally buying like burned down lots, and they had no idea.
That's
like that is a bad real estate deal when they think they're getting a home that has a tenant that's fully built and stuff, and it's just a lot that's been burned to the ground.
Please tell me, I don't want to throw the company's name out there because
I'm not saying anything. Like, if people want to do their research, they can. But
oh my god,
are there any good turnkey?
That's awful.
Turnkey companies out there though?
I think good is subjective based upon your goals. However, again, like I said before, you have to understand how a business model works and where they make their money. So like turnkey properties, turnkey companies make their money by adding the value. They buy a property severely under market, and then they have a margin there typically, and then they rehab it, and then they need a margin there for like their GCs and whatever, and then like they get it to you and tenant and all stuff. Like there is a lot of work that goes on, a ton of work. Yeah. So they have to make their margins. Now look at the economy that we're in and the market that we're in. Like it's like a fire sale. As soon as something goes on the market, someone is buying it because interest rates are so low, right?
Yeah.
So like when because they're buying it, but that makes it harder for the turnkey companies to get those properties so low, you know, because prices are inflated.
Yep.
So then where is their margin?
And your property management a month? I've seen some crazy.
Or they price it higher so that you're just essentially buying it at market or above.
True.
You know, and so then where's the profit for you? Like there's 4 ways to make profit on a real estate deal, right? Like there's like built-in appreciation, there's forced appreciation, there's like the amortization, the cash flow, the amortization of like the mortgage, and then like the tax write-offs and stuff, right? Yeah. So like you're letting go of like the appreciation and the forced appreciation like right off the bat. Even cash flow is impacted because the arbitrage opportunity is between the mortgage and the rent. And if you're paying more than you should be for the mortgage, like that cash flow is diminished. So like what's left?
No, absolutely right. It's a great way to put it. Great way to put it. Well, that pretty much wraps up the episode, and I appreciate you for Zooming with us. I almost said coming by, but you kind of did. Before we end, I want you to shout out all your social medias you want people to follow you at, ways to connect with you and grow your business. We're all about helping people grow their business.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So like, I have a website, Griffix Property Group, GRIFFIX, griffixpropertygroup.com. And then I am on Instagram, same name, Griffix Property Group is the handle.
Definitely, for sure. We're glad to have connected with you. Thank you for your time.
Same.
Super dope. My name is Juwan. This is the Misguided Podcast, where we intend to guide you to a better future. I'm here with my co-host Mike, and we have a special guest, Sunny.
Either one works. I answer to both.
Sunny. I like Sunny because you got a great smile. So there you go, Sunny.
Thank you.
And it's very sunny outside in California right now. So, you can hit us up at the Misguided Podcast on all social media. You can email us at themisguidedpod@gmail.com. And I appreciate you for coming by, Sunny.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. We'll talk later. All right.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.